Hi, everybody. I just wanted to hop in quick before today's episode to remind you that we are doing a giveaway of 6 months of Realms Plus subscription. All you gotta do is subscribe and leave a comment. The more comments, the more chances you have to win. See our community tab for the full rules and conditions of the contest. And with that, let's get on with today's episode. Welcome back. My name is Minovate, and this is Shifted Reality Season 2, Episode 28. We are still working on our goal of reaching new subscribers for our second season, so please like and subscribe. Maybe make a comment down below to say hi if you're new to the channel. Oh man, I need to work on a better intro that doesn't sound so static. I'm not really good at talking when I'm planning on what I'm talking about, so that is something I need to learn and work on. Anyway, so we are pretty much done with everything below this wall line. From here to the sea and the river, we're basically done. There's maybe some decorative stuff that could more or less be considered the back of the base, what it looks like when you're approaching from, over there or something. But generally speaking, yeah, it is where it's going to be at. Now, we want to bring this up this way. And you notice as we come up, the road just kind of suddenly jumps up there because when Minecraft Vanilla paints a village down, it just lops it down onto whatever the terrain is that's underneath of it. So while it looks like a nice connected road that heads up into the mountain, we know it's not. And that's what we need to work at fixing. So anything above the wall line needs to be tackled in today's episode, which might be a little bit longer. And we need to start considering how are we moving up and down these sections? How are we going to be completing our overall terrain, making it more traversable without needing to go through difficult climbing sections, without weird drops and twists, or otherwise just hills and lifts that are just impossible to actually follow along with the road. This is not an easy task, but it is important because, well, frankly, since we've done no development up above, all of this is just prime real estate for mobs to spawn, wander down, and blow us up like that creeper. Oh my gosh. You could not be more time appropriate there, buddy. So we're going to work on a couple aspects. One, this area down here we need to develop more into a proper farm and get some villagers up here who will be happily working it and keeping it busy. We are probably going to end up needing to move our maps for, finally. They've been here since we first started, but it's not really going to fit there anymore. Decide how we're taking the approach to get up into this area without necessarily needing to terraform or remove everything. If we can get it to blend in as is, that would be the ideal solution, but no guarantee that we will get there. And the big aspect is this nether portal. At the beginning of the season, I said I've never really designed a nether portal that I liked, and this was going to be the season we're going to try and change that. Well, we finally reached the day that is going to happen. So I don't know what we're doing yet, but I know it needs to be done, and this is where we're moving forward with. Ugh, seriously. What a great way to start off an episode. More death. Let's go get our stuff and get to work. Well, I don't think I lost anything, but, Imported stuff, at least I still have. Alright, let's get to transforming. So far throughout building this base, I've mainly been focusing on working around the original vanilla structures of the village. And generally, I've been working at also fixing up the different areas that are impossible to traverse due to the way that the vanilla terrain generates. However, this is proving to be a bit of a challenge in some areas because, as I said, I really want to design something cool to go with this nether portal to really challenge myself. But I'm having a little bit of trouble with planning paralysis because, I mean, there's this building here, this house, that is completely inaccessible to any villagers. So they can't even get up here if they wanted to. And then there is the central aspect of the village, which is where the alarm bell is positioned up here. I mean, even to reach it, we have to kind of go around a long, convoluted direction. Right, even coming up here, now we're technically too high for it. It's like, it doesn't really fit. And then, that house is literally sitting on top of this overhang. It's just a mess. And so I'm not really sure what to do with all of this area. Again, I want to try and make it so that the overall village build is enhancing this and not taking away from the original buildings, but at the same time, sometimes Minecraft just makes it so difficult to embrace these kind of changes. I'm not really sure what to do with this next section, and I'm struggling coming up with a plan. So as I deal with my plan paralysis, I just decided to kind of dive into a little bit of an area. Now, before we had a carrot farm up here and a wheat farm up here, and both were vanilla farms that were here when we first arrived. And I'm finally deciding to move these. I still want to keep a farm in this area, mainly because, again, I want to work around it. But this is definitely a spot I need to just generally change. The road or pathway up here doesn't really serve any purpose. The wall edge of our development down below comes right up, jutting to the edge here. If I kind of cut back on all of this grass area, I'll at the very least have created something that I can work with a little, at least on the minor scale right now. I mean, this path block here leads to one of the buildings I'm struggling with, and that's the one that overlooks the area where we have our nether portal. And so by cutting this back, I can at the very least utilize this space for the purposes of enhancing our overall build and village. But that's going to be involved making all of this a more usable space as well. So let's get digging and get this carved out and ready to go. I am so smart. SMRT. Alright, one of the first things I started doing was trying to clear out this house so that it wasn't so half buried like it was before. And in that, I was thinking, I'll try and get it so that there's a nice, easy graduation down to a lower level so that people can just walk up and down. However, I very quickly realized that if I wanted to do this gradually, I wouldn't have enough room here to really fully extend that out and still be able to get to that graduation. And I'm using the wrong word there. And then I also realized that in the process of cleaning that out, I've given myself a bit of a sheer wall here up until the edge of our designated base. And that's just going to give me more work in the long run. Oh my god, that was a mistake. Because I still need to kind of figure out how to fix that so that it is easy to ascend and descend to those houses for villagers, while continuing to put up my general development of the expanded villager farm. That is not right here. This is how villager farms should be laid out. So we got a little bit and kind of have more space than I had seeds at the moment. I tend to compost a lot of them. But once this grows out, it'll be fine. We can easily plant the rest of these later. So in order to avoid the proverbial painting ourselves into a corner, we just put up a little bit of a base of a tower sort of situation here. And that just creates a texture that we can repeat however high we need to go in it, utilizing that difference in depth and color and shade. You have the darkest of the deep slate tile and the slightly lighter of the deep slate brick, and then the even lighter of the tough brick, and then lighter yet on the inside of the regular stone brick. It creates this somewhat of a reverse pattern in the gradients that we've used before. Still in a bit of a dark spot here. We need to work on this a bit more. So let's skip it day so we're not dealing with mobs too much. I'm liking the reverse gradient that we did to capture in this, and it is, to me, giving a slightly different vibe and something we can certainly work with more later once we get it. And figuring out what to do with the top part up there, well, that's tomorrow Minovate's problem. Right now we are going to continue forward and get something here to make this feel connected and easily to rise up. Now, with no real reason to go over that way, we can work and more or less block this completely off. I suppose you can kind of scooch away around the outside, but it's really not that important. But we do need to get up to the top of the grass wall here. So we are going to just install this little circular switchback, and we will be able to come up, enter on this side, switch back, and get up to the top level that way. Okay, so after building up the stairs and the switchback here, I didn't like having the strong, solid dirt wall, so I started putting a retaining wall, similar to the same methodology I've used before, and obviously I'm not done yet. It's currently just the boring plain cobblestone. But then I realized when I got to this section here, I kind of needed to figure out what I was doing with the portal region, which is above, and you kind of see some ideas I've been playing with that. And so I thought, what if I made it a circular section? And in order to make the portal itself fit on one side of a circular section, I had to actually make it a fairly large circle, and I'm not sold on this yet. So let me kind of go up there and review what it would look like. Now, I'm far from sold on this, but as I said, if I wanted to put in the portal as one side of a circle, even just, notching out the circle immediately after the existing portal is done, we're still looking at a 26 wide portal. And that's even just saying, hey, we're 26 wide, then you're looking at, say, hey, what about texture? What if I did the red nether brick and then something black and then some tough some stone, and then that can really add up on the thickness if I wanted to do kind of what was in my original head. Plus, that basically requires me to more or less remove this building here and remove this building here, which again I was trying to avoid removing existing vanilla Minecraft structures. So that's why I'm not really sold on this, but the vision the vision I had in my head felt good. But looking at it laid out, I don't know if it's going to work. I need to keep working on the drawing board for this one. Alright, so let's pull in this circle a little bit because I definitely decided it's too large. And see how it looks now. Yeah, that's going to fit a bit better, I think. This path probably needs to go, honestly. It's not really serving anything, doesn't really connect. I mean, it's originally connected up to the top up there, but we're certainly not going to be putting a connection there, and it doesn't really go anywhere this way anyway. I've also been working at cleaning out this pen because this pen might be leaving sooner rather than later eventually too, so kind of a few different things, but I like that smaller circle quite a bit better. Let's take a look. So I admit part of this has been a little bit of a journey and some difficulty because I'm kind of used to building on the larger scale. I mean, you need more room, you need to get some detail, just build larger and you get more detail that way. But I kind of shrunk the circle down pretty much as small as I could get it and still maintain a sense of a circle and have the portal mostly fit in on this side. That's a little bit weird at the moment, but you know, we can work with this. But now I'm going to work at bringing this circle shape a bit more defined into the world here. And that's going to start with this section here that we are going to bring down to the same level as our wheat farm down there. Now at a certain point I decided it would just be simpler to capture my vision if I took out everything and brought that circle straight down to the ground level, and this way we can build it back up exactly how we want. Sometimes when you start working on something, especially when you work more in an ad hoc fashion, you start off, you get something that is featuring exactly what you wanted, a kind of deep red with a shifting texture, but you want to capture and retain that texture behind another layer. And so then you go and look at what other blocks you can look at to still capture some of it while it's not making it so overbearing over the top. And you don't quite catch it on your first attempt. And then you have a choice. You can stick with it or you can kind of rework it a little bit. But one way or the other, you kind of have to sometimes just dig in and complete the full look just to get a full idea. Now you do risk utilizing some resources or creating some blocks that you may not ultimately need. Like, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep these chiseled stones into here, but ultimately I don't think it's going to be that necessary or that pivotable to the overall design as I come up with a new plan here. The reason I like how this is coming out so far is it really feels to me like something that should exist in the nether. Almost like the nether is being extended out of the portal and into the overworld. And that's the vibe I was going for, which I think we are accomplishing. I think just a little bit more touches up along the top, and we can get back to establishing our platform so people can come and go from our portal again. Because right now when people come through our portal, they just fall into the middle of the giant hole because it's all hollow in the middle. And once we have a floor in here again, we can start utilizing a better structure for how we want the overall exterior to look. And we're going to continue with the stone brick at the top level here because while we want the base to look like something on the nether, we want the top to look like something that was built in the overworld, almost like the two worlds are combined into one. Now I bought a bunch of soul sand so I could grow a bunch of nether wart, because I decided that on this top level, the netherrack was looking a little like an incomplete block, and I couldn't just use the nether bricks because it goes from being red to kind of purplish color, and whilst it is the only option available for the chiseled, there's no chiseled red nether brick, and let's face it, there really should be. I wanted to have that bright, vibrant red maintained and cap it off. And I think this is working the way I wanted. As for the nether wart farm down there, I'm probably never going to need that much nether wart in the long run. It's basically just going to sit down there until the next time I decide I need to use it for a project. And even then, you know, it probably won't be that amount. So we won't bother harvesting that or anything. It's just going to be sitting there as a resource to be used in the future. So the next stage that I'm kind of working on is I want to create something that stands out on the top of this. And so we're creating a little bit of like mini portals to the world around it. And well, wait, what's this? Oh jeez, wow. That is quite the collection here. Is that an ominous? No, it's just a regular trial key. I suppose this is a good time to mention the fact that I am giving away 6 months of a Realms Plus subscription to one lucky viewer. Just subscribe and comment on the videos. The more you comment, the more chances you get to enter into winning, and we will be giving that out in the end of the season, new year. Not really sure how that's going to play out as to timing, but this is a nice gift. We'll have to incorporate this beacon into our build somehow. Do I put these diamonds with the rest of my diamonds? I mean, do these count as fairly earned from the shops? Not sure, but I'm going to anyway. Yeah, my first thought is that's more emeralds than I'll ever need to use for trading. But then my second thought was that's more than enough emeralds to make a full beacon, and so that's what we're probably going to use that for. And that's going to be a future project. Now the lore I've decided to go with here is that the people of Frosthaven, they did not create this portal. It was here long before they arrived on the shores. And when they were carving it out, they came across more of the deeper netherrack aspect of it. But it was generally in despair, the ruined portals that you see throughout the Minecraft world. And so they did their best to try and recreate it or restore it, utilizing the materials they had available. But without the understanding of what created the portal, they weren't able to actually create additional portals to foreign realms. And so while they did their best to try and create the multiple steps, they only had the one. And when I did this, I was trying to capture that religious vibe, that kind of a temple testament to everything. And hence you have the 4 cardinal points, that is establishing the location and the angles of what travel that people can come and go. These structures serve not only to create a sense of completeness, that is connecting the 4 portals, it also actually doubles and prevents a unique way to keep the villagers out from this area. It's not going to fully eliminate the occasional baby villager that wanders in here, goes to the portal. I did test it out. I don't believe that an adult villager can go through here anymore. But otherwise, it will tie in and keep this as a player-only location. And one of the things that I am going to do to finish this off is we want to put a bit of an arch that kind of supports the ceiling of this. And then we're going to actually cover it with the dirt and grass from up there, more or less extending over this entire area. and I want to put some glowberries and some hanging roots on the underside. And it's just as a means to establish the sense that this was dug out of the hillside and has been restored but hasn't been fully excavated, as the needs of the village kind of preempted having to do too much work with the mysterious temple of the ancients. And here's that ambiance I was describing, the arched, which I decided to go with the smooth quartz. I thought, it works nicely as a contrast to the stone and everything else, but still being graceful and elegant, I think. But that archway holding up the dirt ceiling works out pretty well. I don't remember who gave me the blossom flowers, but I've had them sitting around in storage for a while. Figured now's a good time to use them. Yeah, it's a little bit of that nice green particle effect. It will contrast the purple particles of the portal nicely, I think. And I even added in some water source blocks in a few spots here and there, where hopefully that will allow the occasional blue dripping coming down, adding more to the general vibe of everything. What I didn't plan on is how plain this wall would end up looking at the end. So as I thought I'd be done with the arch ceiling, I still have just a little bit more. I gotta make this look good somehow, and I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it. So, this is gonna be tricky. As I was first considering what I should put along the dirt wall just to make it look more complete, I was originally thinking going along with that retaining wall design, something dark in the background with a lighter color in the front, just give it a little bit of a artificial play in colors and shadows. But then I had a different inspiration once I started looking through the building blocks I had on hand. I like the Maya bridge still. And as you can see, I didn't do anything too over the top. It almost blends in. It almost becomes invisible other than a little bit of a texture on the surface. And that's because what I decided to use was granite, which is almost similar to the same color as the underlying dirt, just slightly more reddish, a little bit more vibrant, but not too much. And so as a result, we get almost a textured look, a textured pattern to the dirt blocks. And there's a little bit of adjustment. I took some dirt out from the very bottom of it just to round off the edges a little bit. And I think this now looks more complete. It's definitely no longer has that half finished look or that ugly dirt wall look. I mean, we still have that unfinished look down there, which is ironic because we started down there, and before we could finish down there, I need to have an idea of what we're doing here, and now we're going to be bringing that back down. However, I think that will have to be for next episode because this one is getting a little bit long in the tooth, and we should cut it off right about here and set it up for our next episode. So until next week, I will see you on the next Shifted Reality. Bye, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe.